Ikai is a first-person psychological horror game developed by Endflame and published by PM Studios that came out on March 29, 2022. The game has you take on the role of Naoko, a priestess at her uncle's shrine, and as you can probably surmise from the title of the game and the cover art and the fact that the game takes place at a Japanese shrine, Ikai puts you neck deep in Japanese horror and then dunks you under. What starts out like any other day rapidly escalates into veritable pandemonium when an innocent laundry trip to the stream gets derailed by a demon's unquenchable thirst for blood. And rapidly, while an appropriate descriptor of the sequence of events, is also the first strike against the game. The pacing at the beginning of the game is completely bananas, and there is precious little context for us poor players to latch onto in order to understand what the fuck just happened. Good pacing is something I really value in a horror experience, and this ain't it, fam. Another strike against the quality of the writing would have to be the hints that Naoko will give you at various points in the game. Some games do too much hand-holding, and that arguably frustrates me more than what's going on in Ikai. Unlike in other games where instructions might literally appear out of thin air on the screen or the protagonist might say something unbelievably obvious, Ikai takes a more unconventional approach. Naoko will give extremely cryptic hints about what to do next at certain points in the game, and there are only a very few shining examples of the perfect balance struck between cryptic and downright confounding. I spent many moments feeling that like the biggest dum-dum at the idiot convention because I could not for the life of me figure out what the fuck Naoko was even talking about. Where the writing and world building does excel, however, is in the supernatural context provided in the form of collectible yokai pages. These wonderful concise reads can be found throughout the world, which is an excellent way the devs of Ikai reward exploration and engagement with the world. Want to know why a giant fucking head just fell out of the sky and almost squashed you? Well, have I got just the paper for you! And these pages, as well as the other collectible items, are all relevant to the world in which the game takes place. This was very good work on the devs' part, and it totally made me more invested in the game. But all this work was almost completely undone because the world is an absolute chore to interact with. I can't quite put my finger on it because I am not a video game developer, but something just feels off with the grabbing and pulling / pushing mechanism. I can't tell you how many times I thought I was grabbing something and was apparently not. On top of that, and this might be a little subjective, it feels like there's just a little too much in the world that you can interact with, and a lot of it doesn't even give you any new information. It can just be picked up and rotated, but then similar objects cannot be interacted with? The logic behind what could and couldn't be interacted with seemed almost non-existent. Unfortunately, the soundscape isn't that remarkable. Don't get me wrong, there were some brilliant moments where it was really working, particularly when you are tasked with doing some calligraphy to make a seal in order to ward off a yokai. The thudding or hissing I heard as I was desperately trying and failing to trace various symbols made an already painstaking process absolutely unnerving. But even in those moments, the sounds were just okay. The devs used what they had effectively in those moments, but the soundscape didn't seem quite as cohesive as I would have liked, and in other moments it was easily ignored and forgotten. I will say, though, that there are some decent jump scares. At least, until you've experienced it 3 times already. Then it's just blah, but you'll definitely get a few good scares before that happens. The game is $14.99 US on Steam, and it's honestly not worth the price. Seriously, wait till it goes on sale for 50 to 75% off. It's only about a 2 or 2.5 hour experience with almost no replay value. Yeah, you can go back for the collectibles you missed, but that alone is never enough to convince me to pick up a game again, and definitely not for this one.